can see her, but she can't see us.
On mine, look in the top left-hand corner, the green, it shows that there's a call going on. Click on that and see if it takes her back to the video.
Elise, she can hear us, I think. She said she could hear us, but she couldn't visual. So.
Usually at the top of the phone, and I'm not on it on my phone, there'll be a little green thing, and if you hit on that, it'll take you back where you can see. It's usually in the top left-hand corner.
And then at the bottom, it's got start video.
What? Okay.
Oh, she can see us, but we can't see her.
She's on it now.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're all here.
Sorry.
Welcome. So this is a book that was written by Dr. Frank Lawless, and he was one of Dr. Phil's professors in graduate school, and it goes through all kinds of natural things that you can do for ADHD. But there's a chapter in it called The Body Electric, and in The Body Electric, it talks about the use of magnets, and it calls Nikken by name. And our products can be so helpful for people that have ADHD, autism, all kinds of things. Because basically, when you add the energy to the body just works better. And I could, if you wanted to have a one-on-one talk, I'm a nurse, and I can tell you a little bit about how that works with the electricity in the body and the cells and all of that, but way more complicated. And Cece, you were just sharing a story about a friend of yours that you loaned a little pet pad to that I call a mini sleep system. And tell us about how that works.
Well, before the baby had a hard time sleeping, she was very restless to go to bed and to get put back to bed. She would sleep for maybe 2 to 3 hours and then be awake and just kind of be fussy and irritable. And she did eat food for dinner. And so she's well taken care of. It's not that. And so I just suggested it, and Mom tried it and bought it within a week because she was just like, this is amazing. And I said, that's exactly how I told her she would feel. But, you know, I just know how good the blankets and everything, all those magnets work for myself, and I'm a grown adult. And it calms her down, it seems. She said every report every day has been great for her. And Mom is actually waking up to check because it's so not normal. And she did wake up once yesterday around 3, but she went right back to sleep. So she even has had to try to get her back to bed even since the purchase, and that has not been an issue at all. When usually it's a walk, it's a rock, it's just trying to get that baby to calm down for a few minutes. And I mean, we all know the mom walk. So it's working.
That's the really cool part. The sleep system is one of my very favorite products. My husband used to have restless leg syndrome and had to have iron infusions every 3 months. And after we got that, he didn't go back, and he didn't go back. When he finally went back to his neurologist, they had been they had done a sleep study before we got the sleep system. And he said, you know, you've never gone 3 months, more than 3 months. You come right back. And he said, you're 3 months overdue. And he told him, and he said, you know what? I'm not going to get this for you. He said, and he wrote right in the chart, restless leg, sleep apnea resolved with magnetic mattress. And he wrote it at Chapel Hill. And so, you know, it's really cool how when you add energy to the body, at Nikken, we don't diagnose, we don't treat, we don't cure. But what we do is we offer energies that help the body work well. And in this book, what I love is that they talked to Dr. Barney Magola, who was a pediatrician in Pennsylvania. And what he did was he loaned out products to parents of kids who had ADHD in his practice. And I think there were 27 kids. Out of those 27, 19 of the parents said that there was a significant change in the children. Now, I'm going to tell you, if the parents were saying that there was a change, they're the people that noticed. And what he found was the more magnets that was used with the children, the better it was. Like, I sit on a magnetic seat cushion all day when I'm working, and when I travel, I do that. I wear the magnetic insoles. I wear a magnet around me. I actually have one on my lower back too. I love that. I feel like it's my little energy. I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny, and I think when I put that, it's kind of like putting my little battery pack on. But what kids that have a hard time sitting still or hard times, the magnets make such a difference. And our magnetized water is really helpful for that, because in order for the body to function the way it needs to, you need proper hydration. And you know what you were talking about, all of my grandchildren, when they were born, I got a pet pad and put in their cribs. And there, you know, one of my daughter-in-laws, she just swears by it. She said it was a huge difference between, because she had a daughter before she met my son. There was a huge difference in the way she slept and the way these kids slept. And she just loved having them on it. But, you know, it keeps the temperature right. I mean, it's pretty cool what you can do. And so another issue that a lot of people have today with kids is they're getting the right nutrition. I didn't really have this problem with my kids because I made my own baby food, and we had vegetables, all kinds from the beginning, and they just love them. But today they say that 90% of children don't eat vegetables. They're not getting enough, and kids don't get enough protein. I'm also an advanced practice nurse, and I have a private practice, and I work with kids, and I really don't like kids being on medication. I think that the medications that we use for ADHD and things like this, I know that they have side effects, and I know they have long-term effects. And sometimes kids have to be on medicines, but if you find ways other than that, you should. And what I was seeing in my practice is, like, I had a dad bring in a kid, and he was a social worker, and he said, I think we've got to get medicines for him. He said he's always been an A student, and now he just can't concentrate. When I sat down and talked to him, I found out that this kid was only getting 5 grams of protein a day. Now, the child called himself a vegetarian, but what he should have called himself was a sugartarian, because he got up in the morning and he had Pop-Tarts. And then he went to school and he had some cookies and some gummies. And then he came home and he made a sandwich, and that was all he ate. When I went through and looked, 5 grams of protein, and I told the dad I wouldn't refer him to a psychiatrist for meds, because to me it's criminal to give a medication that will, and it would help him focus even if he wasn't eating right, but he still wouldn't be focusing the way he should, because see, our brains need nutrition. You know, it's like fertilizer. And that growing brain has got to have a certain amount of protein. It's got to have vegetables. And so now we've got all these kids out there that don't like any of things. Now, I kind of get it. We're all busy. It's hard. I mean, here in North Carolina right now, everybody is online for school until the end of October, and I'm not sure it won't be all day. But Nikken has some solutions that are really good. And I tell you what, Cece, I want you to tell about the shake mix, because kids of all ages, from little kids all the way up to my dad, who's 85, love this. And it has in it what we call medium chain triglycerides. And they are really great for focus and concentration. But Cece, I know this is one of your favorite products. I'm gonna be mixing this up so you see me mix how quick this is while Cece talks about it.
Okay. So with me, I actually started having a lot of stomach problems years and years ago, and Kimball told me just I needed to do that and the jade greens, and she gave me all the ingredients, and I researched the ingredients. Not that I didn't trust her, but I needed to understand for my own self. I don't have Kimball walking next to me all the time, so I made sure I knew what I was talking about or thinking about, and I was just like, yes, this will be fine. So that's what I did. And that drink mix is my daily, probably for the past 6 or 7 years. And I did notice a very large difference. At that time, I was actually diagnosed with a blood disorder, and on top of that, anemia. So I needed it. I needed more energy. I needed more everything. And so what I have actually done with that is I've made it for my children. I've put it in shakes. I usually use coconut milk or almond milk. I'll throw in a banana. Sometimes I throw in some peanut butter. And there's been maybe a couple of times where somebody says, "Did you put something else in there?" And then I'll have, "No, why? What's wrong?" And it tasted kind of like your shake, but it was fine. And so I've gotten it passed as long as I maybe add some berries, or maybe if they just get the shake. And I know that was Sydney probably when she was like 6 or 7. She was very intuitive of the smell or just maybe a small bit of the flavor, but I did get it past her. And so it worked. And I have given it to friends. The baby that's on the pet pad, she actually was drinking that when she was a year old, because she wouldn't eat anything. She was becoming very fussy with food, and especially with mom, and mom works full time, and it was just something that did work for them. So I love the shake. I live by it.
Well, you saw me make the shake. In the morning, I do mine in the blender, and I put in an avocado, and I put in celery because I want those things. But usually my lunch is another one of the shakes, because it's really quick, and I make it, and this is definitely kid approved. So all I do is I put water in it, I put the shake in it. This is our total vegan drink, and this is chocolate, and it tastes like Hershey's chocolate. It is absolutely delicious. I'm a really big kid when it comes to chocolate, but there's no white sugar in it. It's sweetened with coconut sugar, which has full of vitamins and things, and it doesn't raise the blood sugar too fast. So it's safe for diabetics. I mean, it's less than I think it's about 3 grams. But I put that in it. And then we have our organic Ciaga, which is full of elderberry. And elderberry is my flu vaccine. That's what I use every winter. I don't do the flu vaccine. I use Ciaga. I never get the flu. And so I put a scoop of that in it. And when I do that, I call it chocolate covered berry, and it is so good. It is kid approved, because if you tell a kid you're going to give them a chocolate covered berry milkshake, would they be interested? And sure they are. But what they're getting is they're getting 20 grams of protein. They are getting 3 servings here of vegetables, organic, plus a serving of fruits. And then you've got, this is like 2 to 3 servings of fruit. So all of that in this one shake. And I have seen kids that I've worked with on the autistic spectrum and kids with ADHD. And when you start getting them the right nutrition, they start doing very, very well. Now, kids that have responded well to stimulants, I've talked with parents a lot over the last couple of years. And with some parents, they choose to use coffee, which, I'll be honest with you, I would rather give a child a cup of coffee in the morning than I would Ritalin. I mean, what you're looking at is you're looking at stimulants. And I could give you, I've taught at Carolina, so I could give you this long lecture on ADHD, but you'd just be bored, and so would I. But you're looking at a sleepy brain that needs stimulation to wake up. So giving the child some kind of stimulant can be helpful. Well, we have something called 10-4. It comes in these little packets. It's a green tea, and it's matcha green tea, and it's all organic, and it doesn't have any sugars in it. It is sweetened with stevia, and it has kiwi in it. And I think it's really, really tasty. If you don't think it's sweet enough for you, you can add a little of the Ciaga, and sometimes I do that, and kids like that. But green tea is a stimulant, but it acts very different from coffee. Coffee gives you a rush, and then you just feel like like a balloon with all the air out of it, where this is really good for the adrenals. For me, it's my adrenal fatigue medicine, because that's something that I deal with. And what I find is that when I use this for my pick-me-up in the morning, in fact, that's what I've been drinking here, is a cup of mug of my green tea. But this is really good, and I found that if kids have this, that also helps. And you can just take it and put it right in the shake. That's the way my husband does his in the morning. I'm a purist. I like to have my green tea, and I like that flavor, and I like to have my shake and have that separate. But this is really, really helpful. And, kids are distracted. It's not that, necessarily that they're just bratty kids. A lot of times it's just that they learn differently. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not smart. Most entrepreneurs they found have ADHD. They don't know why that is. Most kids with ADHD have a higher IQ. The brain just works differently. Wearing the magnets, just like the doctor in PA found out, was very helpful. I always wear a magnet around my neck. I'll tell you that they did not have that ADHD diagnosis when I was a little kid, but I can tell you that the teacher would have liked that because I was the redheaded ping pong ball that was just kind of like all over the place. And I know that when I'm using these products, I notice a difference in me. So there's another product that recently has gotten a lot of attention because people have just started noticing how well it works. And my friend Bob is on today because he shared this product with his niece who has a son who's on the autistic spectrum. So Bob, you want to tell us about Clarity and what your nephew's experience has been?
Well, my sister's an RN, and her approach was, we'll try anything. And Sean is now first grade, bounces all over the woodwork, and has trouble focusing in school. And I thought the best recommendation was, yes, the parents, my sister and her daughter noticed the difference, but the teacher really noticed the difference on Sean, that he sat better, he paid attention better, he just was a better student from somebody that was the ping pong ball bouncing off the walls. And so I signed them up, and they get it every month or every 2 months, and they're just happy as can be. So they're very tickled with the results of Clarity, and they tried it, sight unseen, and they saw amazing results. And to me, the fact that the teacher saw the impact was the best testimonial. I think parents will always think they see something, but the teacher's a pretty good barometer to tell if they really have made a difference in their behavior and their ability to focus. And so I'm a believer, and don't ask me why, what it's got in it. I don't understand any of that. I'm just an engineer. But if it works, don't knock it. Don't try to fix it. Just leave it alone.
This is the Clarity. And because we're talking about this, because when I first met Bob is an engineer, so Bob is by nature skeptical. So Bob, tell about, because you're using quite a few of the products. I mentioned to Kimball that I had neuropathy of the feet, and she said, "Oh, you got to try these shoe inserts." Yeah, sure I do. And eventually she wore me down, and I tried them. And for me, the real proving grounds was when I took them out, or I wore a pair of shoes that I did not have them in. Within an hour or so, my feet were killing me. I mean, the first time it happened, we were going to a funeral, and I didn't think I was going to make it through, the session. It was one of these celebration of life ceremonies. And, I couldn't wait to get home. And the first thing I did was put on my old pair of shoes that had the magnets in them. And all of the intense pain on my feet went away. So again, I became a believer through, if it works, I don't understand it, but it works. And I now have 2 sets, and I've loaned off one of my sets to 2 or 3 different people. One guy bought them, one guy didn't. He said, "Oh, it hurt his bunions." Okay, your bunions hurt more than your neuropathy hurts. I've got Kimball's air filter. I'm a firm believer. I used to sneeze a lot at night in the bedroom. We got a lot of dogs and dust and all that stuff. And it's just been marching away, and I can sleep very restfully with that. I have another filter. It's not a Nikon filter in the office here. And I do good in the office. So it's like something's different about the office and the bedroom. And the big difference is the air filter. And again, I can't explain it. It just works. And then you've got a water system and gave some water.
I've given a water system anybody who can drink water. My sister's got it with the her daughter, my niece, her other daughter, I sent them one whose husband is a filtration expert for some company. They're in Michigan, and my son and his family have got one in Dallas, North Carolina. So yes, I'm a 4-time user, and I can't explain it, but it works. The thing for me is I don't drink so much just water as I do tea, but the thing about that water is there's no taste to Raleigh water when you put it through the filter. None. It's whatever water must taste like to be tasteless, that filter does it. And that to me was worth passing around the filter to get rid of all that other stuff that's in the water. Again, I haven't got a clue what it is, but I know it's tasteless when it comes through the filter. And if you put ice in the top chamber, you can have cool water.
That's right. It's up to you. I like mine room temperature. Some people like it cool. So these are products that can really make a difference in the health of kids and in the health of families. And you know, these are difficult times with coronavirus, but always this time of year, I'm always talking to families because kids are going back in school, and are they paying attention? How is this working? And then we're right on top of the cold and flu season. So Nikken just gives us some things that we can use to strengthen our immune system and help have healthier families. And the other thing Nikken has, if you know someone that is looking for a way to make some extra money, Nikken is a great business opportunity. I'm a self-employed gal. I've been self-employed since I was 27. I always say I'm unemployable. I don't want to work for anybody else. But what I really love is that I can share these products and sell them. And I know that every time that a product sells, that a life is changed for the better. And I have a global business. My husband and I actually have a Nikken business down in Peru that we've had down there for 8 years now and across the United States. And I just know that when I'm sharing this with others, it's making a difference. And so if you know somebody that is looking for improvement in their health or a way to make some extra money, then get them to talk to Cece, because I know right now, I mean, there's always people that are suffering, but you know, right now with what's going on with this pandemic and people losing jobs, I know it's a rough time for a lot of families, and to be able to help them is a great thing. So we've all been talking. You're our guest. Tell me if there's some things that you have questions about or anything you liked or didn't like. I'd love for you to share with us.
I think I have a question for Elise. Not that she probably is wanting to ask it, but I know that sometimes I have given her the drink mix and her boys were not tuned into it, no matter how I tried to dress it up for her. Is there any things that you can think of other than your chocolate covered berries, which we didn't try that. So that's definitely something we could try. And I think the other question is about the clarity. She does have a young boy who would definitely benefit from the clarity. However, he is very particular, especially when it comes to what he's ingesting. He already knows he doesn't care for things. And so is it a capsule like lactoferrin where you can break it up, where you can mix it, where you could,
you can take it and you can just dump it into something and mix it in so that he doesn't have to swallow the capsule. I know that when I was a kid, swallowing capsules was not high on my list.
I don't think I could do it until I was maybe like 10 or 12.
and I'm really funny because I can only swallow one capsule at a time, and I don't care what the size it is, and that is today. So I'm with these kids that have trouble with the capsules. But you can take this and empty it in. I mean, the other thing that you can do, and I've done this with a couple of kids, is I have taken some ice cream and put it in the blender with it, and then it's a milkshake, and they seem to like that a lot better. And you know, if that's what it takes to get that 20 grams of the protein and all in, I think I would do it. You don't have to put a whole lot in there. I think that's kids are way more sensitive and picky today. And a lot of kids have what I call sensory integration issues. And
Mhm.
that means that the textures and the way they feel on their tongue is much, much more acute than what we would feel. I understand this a little bit because I'm one of those people that I can't stand tags and clothes. I've got to cut the tag out. And I'm really funny about the texture of the clothing that I get. My husband laughs at me because I'm like, oh, I've got to touch it first. I'm like, oh no, that's not soft enough. And I'm really, really grateful that God didn't have a sense of humor and give me the sensory integration about foods, because just about everything I like. But a lot of kids have a lot of trouble with the textures and things. Nick and redid the shake about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, I can't remember. And the texture of it is better now. But what I would suggest doing was, or you could, if the kid likes yogurt, you could also put a blob of yogurt in there when you put it in that. I find that a lot of times if the kids don't like it, banana. Putting banana in the blender with it, or peanut butter in the blender with it. I mean, you can figure out what the kid likes and work with it that way. And I usually tell them it's a shake. I don't, not even a smoothie, I'll say, because, it's a milkshake. So those are some things to do. But like I said, this, you can mix it into something. Now, I don't know. It actually, one of the cool things about this is it has, oh gosh, I can't think right this second. I didn't take my clarity this morning. Fermented foods. It's got fermentation in it because fermentation is really good for the brain. And I don't really know. I'll tell you what, I'm just very curious.
Do you think one of those is probably the size of a small children's chewable or a larger pill? It's like the chewables right now for, like, what is it, Advil or even Tylenol, they're about the size of a dime.
It's about that. Let me see what it tastes like.
I know with Sydney, when she was about 4, lactoferrin was not something I could get down her with the pill size. So I'd have to break it up, and then I'd have to put it in with the old Tens 4 mix, and that was a little more sweeter at the time, so it worked well. But I'm just thinking of
kind of bitter. It tastes kind of mushroomy to me is what it tastes. But I think, well, I'm going to try something. I've got a little bit of my shake mix left here. Let me see it. Let me see what it's like when I put it. I'm always interested in trying different things. Let me see how it tastes. Because I think you'd want to put it with something that was kind of sweet. And really, when I put a scoop of the Ciaga in and I put a scoop of that chocolate, it's sweet. I mean, one parent said to me, well, that's more like a dessert. And I said, well, if they think it's a dessert, they're going to be way more like
the dessert thing to me. Go ahead.
It's a dessert. That changes the whole psychology. I wouldn't know it was in there. So I took it. I only had about that much of my shake mix left, and I put it into this, and that took care of. I don't taste it. So if you were making it in a whole shake, I think that would be fine. Or you could put it in pudding. You can probably dump it in oatmeal. I mean, lots of different things. What I would suggest is that you put it in something and hide it.
Okay.
Sometimes we have to do things for our kids. Any other questions today before we finish up? I want to tell you that we are so excited that you came today. If you think of something later. Now, Cece has party favors for you, and I have you, Bob. You will get it in the mail because when you come to a party, you should get favors. If you have any questions or anything that we can answer, get up with Cece. If there's something she can't answer, I'm happy to. And if you know of anybody that has any kids that are struggling, then I would love to give some ideas, because I have seen so many kids. One of my favorite stories is some years ago, I was doing a health fair for a large corporation, and the lady that put it together said that she had a child that had ADHD. And she brought the child over about a week later, and we got some of the insoles, like I showed you. We got one of these and a water bottle. And a week or so later, she called back and she said, I think she's better. Well, I never heard anything from her. Well, 2 years later, I went back and I was doing one, and she came up to me. This lady comes up behind me, and I turn around and she throws her arms around me and hugs me. I'm a real hugger. I really hate this whole COVID thing because I'm missing hugs. So I was just, but I was thought, this is wonderful. I'm getting a hug, but what's this about? I didn't remember her. And she said, you know what? My daughter's life is so different. She says, we're still using those same insoles. Her foot's bigger, she says, but they're under the insoles in her shoes, so it doesn't matter. She says, but what I never told you was about a week after she started using this stuff, the teacher called and said, what are you doing different? Have they put her on any medicine? And it wasn't. She was wearing a magnet around her neck, and she was wearing magnets in her shoes, and she was drinking the magnetized water, and it made that much difference in her concentration. And so I love being able to help children. We want to help families. So any questions you might have, just let us know. Yes,
Michelle has a question. She just texted me. She's having a problem with her mute button. So her question is actually to Bob. How does your nephew do with taking the clarity and with the size and the taste? And how old is he?
He's in first grade, and it's working. So he's able to swallow it, or they've broken it apart and didn't tell me that. But I asked early on, do you have any trouble taking the pills? And they said no. So maybe they do what I do to my dogs: you open their mouth and push the pill through the side. It works. That's my objective is to get to the end point.
Right. Well, hers is actually a first grader, so that is very helpful.
Work.
what
Lactoferrin is a bigger pill than Clarity, as I recall.
Yeah,
It is much so.
it is. And you can take the Clarity. Now, one of the things I would think, you could take the Clarity and mix it with a little bit of peanut butter. And I'll bet you wouldn't, I bet they wouldn't taste it at all. And peanut butter's brown, so they wouldn't know that it was in there. Because what I find is if you tell the kids, and I try really hard, and maybe this is part of my just being a therapist, I never tell the kid if I want them to have something that's going to be good for them.
Yeah.
I tell them it's going to be yummy, because if they think it's good for them, they already believe that it's going to taste bad. Because how can anything that is good for them really taste good?
Yeah.
Right.
Green vegetables, perfect example. My son, I thought they bent his teeth.
I grew up on a farm though, so we grew the vegetables and then we ate them all. And I always loved green vegetables, and my kids did, but kids today, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, I try to keep it to an hour or under. I really want to thank you all for coming. Like I said, if you've got any other questions, I'm sure CC can help you. If she can't, I'll look, and I may not know the answer, but I'll know where to find it. Thank you all for being here today, and I hope to see you again.
Thanks, Kimball.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.